When you look at these agreements, the wording is so nebulous, so ambiguous, so not definitive. You don't even know what they're talking about. You don't even know what we signed on to, what we're getting, what we're giving, more importantly. Because it's not the getting so much that worries me as the giving. What are we giving up? But I was particularly alarmed when I saw the agreement between China Media Group and ABS, Antigua Barbuda Broadcasting Services. Because China is a one-party state. Not named democracy in China, not named free press in China. What on earth, what training they could be giving to our journalists here? How to suppress information? I heard sometime late last year that we had a transfer from Dominica. The man who was running the Dominica GIS was brought to Antigua to run GIS here. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know who he is. I haven't seen him. I don't know if GIS is improved. But I don't know. But he was brought here. And then we hear of this thing with China. And we already know, regardless of where you sit politically, you know, ABS is just a public relations arm of the government. So what on earth do we need this alliance with China for them to train journalists and for journalists to do exchanges and to for programming and
Maybe
so on and so
them
forth?
Equipment.
Indoctrination, it sounds like to
Maybe
me.
they didn't give them equipment.
Indoctrination,
to
it sounds like for me. To me.
Maybe it's equipment to upgrade the station.
Oh, but you see, here you are now saying maybe.
Yeah,
Shouldn't you know?
Well.
Shouldn't we know?
Well, they came back.
ABS is 100% taxpayer funded.
Yeah.
We already have some controversy. Remember that funny controversy there between MP Asset Michael and the Prime Minister about who really owns some equipment? Yes, yes. And I have information on that, but I won't put that here. So what are we getting if it's equipment? Why can't we purchase it ourselves? Why do we have to get it from China? But more important, why the programming? Is it indoctrination? And why are we teaming up with a country that does not have a free press? I was in China some years ago. You can't even get WhatsApp. You can't get WhatsApp. They don't allow it. You know how Antigua people live in there on their WhatsApp and they, you know, whatever, right? So I felt like somebody had cutting off my oxygen. There was a young man.
I was in China. I made calls.
Yeah, they didn't send more calls. I said we didn't have any WhatsApp. All right? But it concerns me because in Chapter 2 of our Constitution, protection of fundamental rights and freedoms of the individuals. The first one, life, liberty, security of the person, the enjoyment of property. Oh, enjoyment of property. You know, people building house and using up other people's land, Dave. You heard about it? That can be right?
No.
And what next? Imagine you see a piece of land that you love or that your parents hand down to you as a gift, whether it's your graduation, your wedding, whatever. And they say, this is for you. Now, if you have a parent like my mother, it would be to her girls and they'd say, this is for you. Nobody must be able to put you out of this. You're set up for life here, right? And somebody who have money to bang dog, build in, and they just occupy your property and tell you, well, sorry about that. You can look around Antigua and see if you see something you like. I will make sure that you get it. I tell you, it's a dictatorship we're living in. Even your right to enjoy your own property is being infringed upon, is being breached. When somebody, you know, it reminds me of the biblical story of Naboth's vineyard. King Ahab and Queen Jezebel. And you see what happened to the Jezebel, right? How the dogs ate her, except for the soles of her feet and the palms of her hands, because they love people things. And when somebody says, no, you're the king, you can have what you want. This is my inheritance. This is what my forefathers left me. You can't have it. And Jezebel says, you're the king. Who is he to tell you you can't have it? Just take it. And so they put the man out of the way and take his vineyard. This is what's happening in Antigua and Barbuda now. It can be yours only because somebody higher than you doesn't want it yet. People better be careful, you know. Because the whole principle of the thing, that I can have yours and you can have somebody else. I'll give you something else. If you have something else to give, why you don't take it? Why don't you take the alternative and leave me with what I have? It can't be right for people to just go occupy your property because they want a palatial, you know, big grounds and, you know, and whatever with tall palm trees and whatever. It can't be right. So we have an infringement there. Life, liberty, security of the person, the enjoyment of property, and the protection of the law. Where's the law? Who does the law protect in Antigua and Barbuda? B, freedom of conscience, of expression, including freedom of the press. What China know about freedom of the press? Don't get me wrong, it was a beautiful place, lovely place, modern place.
I enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it too. But that's for them, it's not for me. I didn't grow up under that system. I don't want to live under that system. And I don't want that system to be imposed here. I want the press to be free. We already have state media being controlled by the governing administration. I don't know what the next plans are for the rest of the press when you have this kind of alliance. They've already gone and changed the Electronic Crimes Act. So even if you go on social media now and say how you feel, because you have freedom of expression, you don't need a license to get on social media. And they're going to send the long arm of the law. The law that's supposed to protect you isn't protecting you, it's protecting them from you, from your rights. And so they have changed this law to say you can't do this, you can't do that, the other. They can go on their radio station and say what they like about people. And because people are so intimidated or just literally can't afford to take them to court, everybody sits down and they take it. Well, not everybody, but you know what I mean. But you have rights in the Constitution. And speaking of freedom of expression, we have a situation that I found alarming on Friday, where somebody put up a message on a billboard.
Friday.
That
was the hearing in court.
No.
That
no
was something
hearing.
new?
There's a billboard on Buena Road, a billboard erected on the premises of Senator Jonathan Joseph, the UPP candidate. And the billboard was used to carry a message. All right? The message showed a picture of Brian Stuart Young.
Oh, that.
Yes. This is Brian Stuart Young.
The gentleman demanding his money.
Quoting the Prime Minister, Brian Stuart Young is not a crook. He's a decent man. And the message went on to ask, well, so why can't Jack Stroll get his US millions? And with zero notice, literally, the DCA gave zero notice. Because the form says, you give to the owner, occupier, X number of days notice to remove whatever it is.
So they went and they took it down?
They ripped it down immediately. How you can give anybody zero notice? Who gets zero notice? You just told me that auction of the building didn't take place because there was not enough notice in the paper. We had a situation in 2013 where they were trying to change the boundaries, or was it 2014? It might have been 2014, where boundary changes had been recommended. And the then opposition Labour Party took the matter to court, didn't want the boundaries changed, and the court said on one ground there had not been sufficient consultation. Right? You don't give zero notice. So you pull it down and then you put up the notice to say you must take it down in zero time. And you can appeal it, the decision of the DCA, in zero time. How can that be right? How can that be right? And you go on to add insult to injury. You say the content is defamatory. We know.
Defamatory to who?
May I wonder? That's what I've been asking. First of all, it can't be defamatory to show the man's picture and say this is Brian Stuart Young. It can't be defamatory to quote the Prime Minister, what he said in a public setting.
Gentleman is a good man.
He said Brian Stuart Young is not a crook, he's a decent man.
And
they reproduced it verbatim.
Is
then
it because
third,
he was asking for his money?
He asked, why isn't he paying me my money? Wait, this man, Jack Stroll, has a judgment, has a court judgment. He's already gone to court. These people have accepted liability, the bank and Brian Stuart Young.
So DC
as
decide that.
That's what the notice says. Take it down. The billboard was erected without DCA approval, which is not true, because the billboard has been there since before the last election.
So that's the same billboard.
It's the same billboard
was using,
and the message was put over Jonathan's the photograph, the thing that he has there. So it was imposed over it. So they pulled it down. They tore it up because the video shows that it's in pieces, and they took it away. So the billboard was not erected in contravention of any DCA rules, 1. 2, there's no defamation. Nothing on that billboard in terms of the message defamed anybody. The man has a judgment. It's been all over social media. He has a judgment against the bank. He has a judgment against Brian Stuart Young. They have not honored the judgment. He went back to court. And out of that proceedings, they gave them 104 questions to answer. Brian Stuart Young and the bank, 104 questions put by Jack Strow's lawyers. They weren't ready on Friday. They put it back, I think, to the 21st of March? They gave them an extension.
Until Thursday.
Until 20, right. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Where in that message is a defamation? What's defamatory about it? His photo is defamatory. The Prime Minister's quote is defamatory. Asking why you're not paying me my money that you admitted in court you owed me is defamatory. And so we're living now in a state where the DCA and the police, by virtue of being DCA and police, can go and just rip down something off a private property with zero notice to the owner or the occupier and zero notice to appeal the decision. If this is not dictatorship, you tell me what is. What is? What are they going to do next? What freedom are we going to lose next? This is a constitutional freedom you have. You're expressing frustration because you have millions of dollars. Millions of US dollars. So when we say 10 million, it just sounds like 10 million. It's 27 million EC dollars we're talking about that belong to somebody. And the Prime Minister, who is the Minister of Finance, under whom FSRC falls, what have they done about this bank? When the Prime Minister could tell us the other day that the $1 million that the Barbudans had no knowledge of, that donation from the Steve Morgan Foundation, they had no... Imagine somebody send money for you, Dave. I up in New York and I come in home and I say, give Dave this $1,000 for me. And years pass, and then one day they say, Dave, what you did with $1,000 that I send you? You say, what $1,000? You send me $1,000? And I say, oh, well, I had put it in a box, and then, the box collapsed, and so I didn't get it. What is that, Dave? What really is that? What really is that for the Prime Minister and the Finance Minister to be telling the public that they were having some problems with their correspondent bank? So since 2017 that this bank have issues?
Is that cash they gave you?
They put the money in the bank.
So it's cash.
The man said no. I'm sure they transferred it from England.
Okay.
All right. He was told by the Prime Minister to put the money in Global Bank of Commerce.